Hi creatives, Dimma here, and on today's tutorial I'll be sharing with you how I made this beautiful pleats, how I made the puff sleeve, and also how I used lace trimmings to cover this yoke overlay. Okay, and you can see the pleats, how gorgeous it is. I'm going to explain to you. You know that I lost my phone and I tried to explain in my last video, but that notwithstanding, I will explain everything I can in this gown. Okay, but it's not going to be the original video, just as I explained in my last video. So the first thing we are going to look at are the pleats. Okay, we are going to look at how I made this beautiful pleats to lie so beautifully well like this. I'm going to explain every bit of that in this tutorial. I will also explain how you can make a puff sleeve. You can see the yoke overlay. I did not put it in between the lining and the fabric as usual, but I laid it on top. I will be using lace trimmings to cover it up and all over the bodice. Okay, you will see how I did all of that in this video. I will also be explaining this puff sleeve. I'll teach you two methods of cutting this puff sleeve, okay, depending on the effect you want to get, but definitely the one I used in this very dress is the first method that I'm going to explain in this video. So I will explain to you every bit of what I did to achieve this beautiful pleats that you can see, yes, and also the lace trimmings I used to cover the yoke overlay, and of course the sleeve. For the hip padding, I will link it up in the description box. Okay, so let's get right into it. So to do this, I am starting with this organza fabric. This is an organza fabric, and that is also what I used in the original video. Okay, original dress, as in the dress you just saw not long ago. Okay, so right now I will first of all fold it in like this and stitch it down. When I stitch it down, which I have done here, I will now go ahead to show you what I did. Now see what I did. I pinched like 1/4 inch. I pinched it in like this such that it can cover this part that I have already stitched. Okay, it's about 1/4 inch. Watch closely to see what I am doing. Aside what I'm saying, watch what I am doing. I just measured 1/4 inch like this, and then I am going to be stitching on there. Okay, I'm going to stitch it down. That is the first step to making this pleats. I've stitched it down, and you can see that when you flip it over the other side, it's covering the first seam that I made. Now you're going to take 1/2 inch away from the seam now and pinch another 1/4 inches from it. Okay, 1/4 inches from it. Okay, so that is what I did here. I pinched another 1/4 inches. I'll give 1/2 inch again and then pinch another 1/4, and I will continue like that. You can see what I did. I've done a lot of that already with 1/2 inch spacing between it. That 1/2 inch is to ensure that they lay on top of each other without revealing that there is a seam holding each pleat. I hope you understand. Now I'm just cutting it out here because I feel at this level you understand, and I'm going to fold it in the way I did at the beginning of making these very pleats. Now I've folded it in, and this is what I have. You can see what I have. You trim any form of thread on it. Of course, there may be thread. It's best to cut as you stitch. That is the best. Each one you sew, you cut the thread so that your work will be neat. Now this is what I have. I'll go ahead and iron it. This is what I got after ironing. You can see the back part. I also ironed the back part. Just move the pleats to one side and iron it out. So that is how I achieved this pleats. Now this is how I folded it in one edge. This other edge, the pleat is covering the turned up, finished up starting point. Okay, so now this is what I have, and if you want to use it on this gown, you just place it like so. You can see how I placed it. What I used for this very tutorial is about 3 yards. I used about 3 yards of the organza fabric for this pleats. Okay, 1.5 for each side. Now this is how I laid it, and then laid the other one like this. This gown has a waistline joining, and this pleat is definitely covering the waistline joining. You can see the waistline joining there. So that is what I have there. So the pleats are covering the waistline joining. It's not cutting one dress. It has a waistline joining. If you watch the drafting video, you will see that it has a waistline joining. So that is how I made my pleats, and I'll go ahead to explain to you how to make the puff sleeve. That will be the next. To make the puff sleeve, I'm starting with a basic sleeve. I always say that I make my basic sleeve with the back, pattern, back sleeve pattern. So right here, I'll measure 14 inches and I'll add 2 inches or 2.5 inches to the cap to give that puffy effect. So the first thing I'm going to do is to get a white paper, of course. As you can see here, I'll place this my brown master pattern on it. Okay, I'll place it on it like this, and then I will just trace out the parts that I need. Now I traced it to the 14 inches mark and I've marked it. I'll just rule a horizontal line there. 14 inches is the length. The actual length is 12 inches plus 2 inches to get the puffy effect or balloon-like effect at the hem of the puff sleeve. I hope you understand. So right now, this is what I have, and my client's biceps is 7, that is 14, and I am using 7 on fold. I hope you understand. So that is what I have for this master pattern. Now I'm going to use the remaining of this organza fabric to illustrate further how you can make your puff sleeve. Now the final width of this puff sleeve on fold is 18, but what I got for this organza fabric is 14. Okay, as it is on fold, what I got here is 16. But what you will need to get exactly this effect is 18. Okay, I hope you understand. So, but I'm going to make do with this. I now added 2.5 inches, or 2 inches is still fine, to the cap of the sleeve. So I'm pinning it down because what I have at that cap is exactly about 2.5 inches. So I'm going to use it for this, that is to give the cap a puffy effect. And this is how you're going to trace it to the basic sleeve or the master sleeve pattern to cut out the puff sleeve. Now this will give a balloon-like effect at the cap of the puff sleeve more than the second version. Now this is the version I used to make the one on this dress, but I'm going to teach you the second way that you can make your puff sleeve. All right, so this is the first version and this is the one I used for this dress. The second version will still give you a beautiful puff sleeve, but it's not going to give a very full balloony effect at the cap side, at the side of the cap sleeve. Okay, here I'm going to add elastic and then gather the cap area, and that is your puff sleeve. It will be ready by so doing. I hope you understand. Now that is what I used for the puff sleeve of this gown that I made in this video. Now this is the next way you can do your puff sleeve. You draw slash lines and of course slash and spread. So now I'm slashing along my slash lines and I'm going to spread it across this sleeve. So this is how you spread it and then pin it down. Equal spacing of about 2 inches is fine. As I said, this puff sleeve, to get the effect that you can see on the, in my video, the dress I made, you have to use the first version, and on fold like this, it has to be 18 inches plus ½ inch seam allowance. That is 18.5 inches on fold, which means it is 37 when you open up the fold. I just notched the cap right now, and this is the second version, which will still give a beautiful puff sleeve, but is not going to be as balloony or as puffy as this one on this dress. Okay, because the one I used, the version I used is the first one. So based on what you want, You can see the elastic I added at the hem. That is how you're going to add elastic at the hem. If you are using lining, you turn over with lining and then stitch it in a way that it will give you space to pass your elastic. Okay, that is how I made this. If you are not using lining, just fold it in such that it will have a space for your elastic. After adding your elastic, you close up the sleeve under the arm there, okay, and then attach it to your dress and you're done. That is how to do it. You can see where I started the level of the puff sleeve. I started gathering the puff sleeve from the level of about 4 inches from the shoulder tip down. Okay, that is where I started the gathering of the puff sleeve. Feel free to gather it to the size of your armhole and then fix it. So now we are going to work on the yoke overlay, and I am going to show you how you will use lace trimmings to make your yoke overlay. This is the hip padding, but I am not going to treat it in this video, but I'll link in the description box a very detailed tutorial on hip padding that you will definitely love. Okay, so here is the lace that I'll be using to trim out. I'll trim it out and then use it to patch up this whole yoke. Okay, so you watch me trim it and see how I trim it out and then use it to conclude this dress, the embellishment part, which is the final part of this dress. So right now I'll be cutting it out. You first watch your lace very well and decide the parts that you want to use. You decide what you want to cut out and cut out exactly that. Okay, why it's good to decide what you want to cut out is so that you don't cut into the embroidery of the design you want to. Okay, so right now you trim it. You can see how I am trimming it. I am being careful not to cut into the embroidery of the designs that I am cutting. Instead, you cut into the one beside it just to safeguard this so that it doesn't start ripping off from there, if you understand what I mean. So that is exactly what I'm doing. I'm being careful with the whole process and trimming it out in a way that I do not leave any loophole where it will be shedding threads from. I hope you understand. So this is what I cut out first, and I'll be using it to just line up along the yoke overlay first. That is what I'm going to do first. Okay, place it very well the way you like it. As you place, you pin, because sometimes you may like a particular pattern, but by the time you scatter it up, you may not really remember how you placed it. So that's why when you feel you really like a particular way or a particular pattern that you placed this lace trimmings, just pin it down so that it will remain intact before you tack it down with your needle and thread. I like using needle and thread to tack my appliques or lace trimmings down because that is the most secure, and in fact is a better method of applying applique. I see some people use gums, but I can assure you that is not good. It will mess up the cloth and it will still not last. Please use your needle and thread. Take your time and tack it down. Okay, it's not about how fast but how well. Very, very important in sewing. So right now I am cutting out this. I'm cutting out more to be able to patch up the remaining spaces along that yoke overlay line. Okay, now after doing that, I am going to trim more from this flowery designs on the lace. I'm going to trim carefully where I want, and of course use it to cover up the whole bodies, just as you can see in the picture that I am trying to copy. Okay, so this is what I'm doing here. Guys, if at this point you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and do so and you will not regret it. I can assure you that. Please subscribe and you will not regret it. Okay, so back to what we are doing. I am here cutting out all of this lace trimmings, flowery designs, and you can see what I have. I'm taking my time to really show you every bit of what I'm doing. I'm removing nets in between so that it will look very neat. If you don't remove those nets as much as possible, it will not let the you know, cut out lace patterns to look really nice and natural. So that is what I did. I tried to cut out some nets that are in between the flowery designs. Don't cut it out in a way that it will scatter the pattern, no, but cut as much as possible so that it will look nice. So that is what I'm doing here. I'm cutting out more and I will go ahead and place it. I had to go ahead and do most of the cutting off camera, and of course placed it like this. I'm trying to follow a pattern that I will like. I trimmed more of these flowery patterns and then placed it all over the bodies of this dress. So that is how you're going to do yours. You can see how I tacked those pleats. You can see how I tacked those pleats so that the tacking will not show. I lifted the pleats on that V-line on the waist. I lifted the first pleat and tacked under it. That way, everything will look nice. So here I have my needle and thread. I have threaded my needle and I'm going ahead to tack. So that is how to do this. You go ahead and tack neatly till everything is looking nice. After tacking, the next thing you will do is to take your time and iron. Please use low heat. You know that this is quite close to a mesh, and mesh burn at a very low heat, so make sure that you do not use very hot iron for this. I used 3. After applying this lace trimmings, I used my iron on the setting of 3 and ironed all of this. That will make it to lay flat and beautiful, and you can see what we have. Isn't this beautiful? Are you going to try it out? Try it and let me know what your result is. Thanks for watching, guys, and I love you all, and of course I will see you in my next one. Bye.